Hello and welcome to Board Stupid. My name's Wayne.
And I'm Matt.
And what you see before you
is Fateforge Chronicles of Kaan.
And this is our review of it in good time as well, man, because there is.
Yeah, exactly. There is a new reprint and a new expansion on Kickstarter live about now.
Now, which is tremendously exciting.
So we thought that there was a perfect occasion to talk about the game that we played and, well, we'll tell you about it.
We are going to tell you about it. And if you like the sound of that, then why don't you consider...
hit the subscribe button.
Slay it like you'll slay this dragon. Slay that subscribe button and join us after the jump as we dive into this game.
Yeah, let's go.
Rolling dice, feeling nice, cardboard dreams and game schemes. Click subscribe, it's a vibe. Board Stupid's all we need. Board Stupid, game reviews for you and me. Board Stupid, here's what you should play and see.
So Matt, tell us about Fateforge Chronicles of Kaan. What is this game?
So Fateforge is a story-driven action dungeon crawler. That's what I would call it. There's a lot of words, but that's
exactly
basically what it is. So it's a cooperative game. So you play with you, Wayne, and all the people around the table, trying to going through the story of this like RPG. Medieval fantasy.
Dungeons and Dragons-esque.
Yes, because I just want to point out the Fateforge is an existing IP. It's an IP that's been out for a few years now, and it's a proper RPG that plays with D&D 5th edition. So it already has its own lore, its own names, heroes and stuff, and this is based in that world, in that fantasy world. But yeah, going back to the game is divided in two kind of sections: that the story mode and the action mode. So the story modes will be you and your fellow travelers going around the maps, trying to discover things, getting side quests, getting pulled here and there from NPCs and all that kind of stuff. And you're trying to go through this story that is a branching stories, and every time you make a decision, the story will change. And then there is the action phase where you're actually playing on the board with your minis, going through room by room and trying to slay as many enemies as you can.
While collecting loot and all that good stuff that you might imagine from an RPG. This game has about 30 hours worth of campaign material, so plenty to get your teeth into. It has branching storylines.
Yes,
so
that means replayability is a thing.
It will play up to 4 players or even solo if you really wanted to.
Yeah. But even like 2 players who can play 2. So the games will scale depending on how many players you select. And while saying selecting, is because the game itself will be run by an app.
Yes.
So that is something that we need to tell you about it. So the app is very well done. It's basically like a choose your own adventure book on the app. So you will read about the story, what's going on. You will make choice that then will be saved onto the app. So every time that you open the app again, it'll tell you exactly where you are in terms of the story. Remember, even what loot you've been taking, and then for the fighting scenes will help you out with the setup of the of the game. So it will tell you which tiles you need to put, which enemies goes on the board, where you start, where the enemies are, and then will help you throughout the fight. I don't know, if you open a chest, you will click the chest icon on the app and it will tell you what you found in there. So everything that you will find in other games on a normal book is done by the app. The app is very well done, never crashed. It saves everything, but it is app driven.
Yes.
So there is no storybook like in other games where you can have both the app or this. Is simply the app
driven, yeah.
And at this point there is no voiceover, so you will have to read the whatever the app says, but it's part of the game.
That is part of the game. Matt, that's a fantastic overview.
Thank you.
Yeah, great job, dude. let's
Seems
dive
like,
in.
we're recording a video.
I know, almost like we are. Let's dive in to talk about our first impressions of the production of the game.
Yes. So, again, this is the limited deluxe edition. It is different from the retail version. However, this is going to be the one that is going to be reprinted. So the difference are quite substantial. The enemy tokens, the various tokens, and the boss minis. So in this game, you will not have tons of minis. The minis will be for your heroes, and if you get the upgraded version, for the bosses. Everything else is done by this
Little hockey pucks.
hockey pucks.
Chips.
Yeah, exactly.
Poker chip type thing.
These chips. There are double printed, so on each side we'll have either a different enemies that you use in different scenarios, or some of them are, for example, the undead that kind of like dies and then come back, so you flip them. So they're quite useful. I have to say that they're really nice disc printed, and now we'll definitely prefer this rather than having the simple
boxes or the chips or anything like that. Yeah, absolutely.
As well, the gems and all that stuff, the life and energy counters, those are nice, like wooden meeples.
Nice, wooden tokens.
Wooden tokens. So what we're looking at is the deluxe version. I had a look at the retail version for the different price. Is kind of like, this is the version
you may as well get this version. And that's why when you get and see the campaign, the only one they're reprinting is this version.
Yes, because it went sold out, all the copies that the guys did, and this is
it's the one that was requested as well.
Yes, and on top of that, on the campaign we'll find the new expansion. Well, we'll talk about it toward the end. So
absolutely. So lots of amazing components in this game. The artwork, Matt, is absolutely tremendous, I think. This is probably one of the highlights of the game.
Yes, it's again, it's a fantasy style, but very, very well done. Each character looks very different. The characters are not kind of like, some of them reminds the archetypes of a tank, of a thief, or of a swords fighter,
monk or whatever,
and all that stuff. However, there is always a little twist that will make the game more interesting.
Yeah, really cool.
So yeah, the artwork and the tiles themselves are pretty cool. All the illustration done, not AI.
It's all actually illustrated, and they're all fantastic.
It's so good.
Absolutely love it.
And I want to do a special mention for the map. This is the map of the game that you will use during the story mode to go through location. And there is this very nice things that you do. It's kind of like a micro macro.
Yeah, micro macro, where's Waldo, where's Wally type thing, where you're trying to find certain things and see what direction you need to go. It's great because unlike other games, the map is actually used.
Yes,
it's like legitimately in game.
Exactly. So the map is very detailed. It's quite fun to go inside, like checking the details on each building. You will find something, and in some part of the maps, of the story, no spoilers, but it's gonna tell you like, oh, there is a tavern with a dragon on top of it. And you kind of like need to scout the map to see where it is. And then the map will tell you, like, on the app, do you want to go north? Do you want to go east? And depending where you go, you might encounter other NPC going straight to the location, opens the door to side quests. So it's very well done. It's keeps it fun, even the story mode.
I love the colour palette of the game. Lots of bright, punchy colours, absolutely fantastic. We already said the components were brilliant as well. Matt, is there anything else you want to talk about production, or should we dive into the...
No, the only things I would like to say exactly what you say now. The colours are like more punchy, more like vibrant. That is... Thank God, something different from
just grimdark.
All the millions of dungeon crawler that are always like dark and moody, and fair enough, because fair enough. But this is a more colourful, and the story kind of like reflect that. There are moments in the story where you're like, what?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think for production-wise, it's we can say that it's a very, very well done production. Each character got its own dice.
Yeah.
There are custom dice for each one of them that you roll normally. So we touched the dice. Let's talk about
The game?
how you actually play during the fight.
Let's do that.
Okay, Wayne, let's talk about how the game actually plays. Like,
when we get to the fighting phase, like the meat of the game.
meaty part.
The meaty part of the game, which is
where you roll dice and do shenanigans.
you fight enemies and have a great time. That is the bulk of the game, I think, or the vast mechanical bulk of the game. So the fighting section of the game has three distinct phases. First, you have this whole preparation phase, which is really interesting. This is when you're going to be taking your dice and you're going to be rolling them behind this screen here. And this screen is really important because what we can do is tell our colleagues, our adventuring partners, roughly what we can do, but not specifically what we can do. And that's going to help us make decisions about how we're going to attack the scenario. Because once we've rolled those dice, we can then decide what order we want to act. And that's going to be really, really important because depending on Matt's abilities, my abilities, other abilities at the table, we might be able to get rid of certain enemies or create some sort of buffs or do something. But then the enemies might do a reaction in between. So we need to make sure that we're accounting for that.
Yeah, exactly. So again, you roll the dice behind the screens. Then when it's your turn, you reveal what dice you have and you can use those dice. Now, how do you use these dice? So all the dice are custom for each one of the classes, and you usually have the usual sword for a damage, a boot for a movement, and that is pretty standard. So with one boot, if I got one boot, I can move my minis one space. There is no grid. There is no each space is one movement to go. Sort of like Zombicide when you do your movement is into a room. But the very cool things about the game is the fact that each one of the character will have their different class abilities, where you basically can allocate the dice to that specific card to create another effect. For example, you can take 2 misses and transform it into a movement, or 1 movement and 1 miss transforming into a shield, so you get protected. And you can build your character like adding more of these skills and adding more of this dice allocation. Yeah,
it's amazing. They're kind of dice conversion abilities, which you can then combo together, which is really great. You can turn this result and this result into another result, which then triggers this second ability. It's really, really fun. And I think that's a really fun, enjoyable part of the game, is looking through those skills when you get the chance to level up.
Yeah.
And picking which one you think is going to slot into something you've already got to make a cool combo.
Yeah, exactly. So you can build your character with cooler combos. Like every time you get a new skills in between the fights, you can make your character really what you want it to be. Of course, each character is a certain archetype.
Yes,
let's call
absolutely.
it. The rogue is the rogue. The nobleman is the swordsman, and all of that. Apart from that, so you got this very cool dice allocation. For the rest, the board is very nice because it's again very colorful and everything. And then you got these 2 slots, top and bottom. On the top, you will have your life and energy available, and every time they use one or getting hit, you're losing it, putting on one of the bottom. The energy will let you use a certain skills, or will let you move without having a movement dice.
Yeah,
it's kind of help.
It's an extra movement
in that kind of sticky situation, or sometimes if you're rolling really bad and you get stuck into a room, the game's kind of like thinks about it and kind of like help you out with that.
Yeah.
Does it actually help you?
I mean, the turn economy in this game is super tight. So sometimes you will need to move your ass to get to a certain place in the map, and you'll need to be spending those resources. But don't spend them too willingly, though, because you don't get them all back at the end of each fight, which is really important. Sometimes, Matt, you'll have several fights in a row before you can rest.
Yeah, so a fight in the games are the scenario.
Yeah, the scenario.
So you will have 3 fighting scenarios
Like this one.
back to back, and then you will have your rest and story phase. But your economy of your resources, it needs to be, you need really to think about it, that, okay, we got 3 fights from now to the end.
Potentially 3 fights. Yeah.
How we gonna do it? Do I really want to take that extra damage to get that treasure, or should I leave that treasure there because God knows what in the next fight is gonna happen?
Yeah.
So in that, it's really tight, and the game itself is challenging.
Yeah.
It's not an easy game.
No, it's tuned pretty hard. If you really want to, in the app menu options, there is an easy mode that you can tick to make it, I suppose, less stressful, but like
Sometimes it can be
quite stressful.
Yeah.
I like challenging co-op.
It
That's
is.
how I like my games tuned.
How it should be. Because it's, again, if it's too easy, you lose kind of interest in it.
Yeah.
I don't think you're even supposed to win all the scenarios. Or some of them we started was like, there's no way we're gonna make this.
But sometimes you can make it.
Yeah.
But there's a sacrifice you need to make. Like,
Exactly.
you can get extra turns to complete a scenario.
Yes,
But you're going to take corruption, and corruption is the failure state of Fateforge.
yes. So it's either that. So if you need more turns than what you're allowed, normally you will have scenarios between 3 and 5, but sometimes you need more, because if the boss is not dying, you need an
more
extra turn.
Yeah, exactly.
And you will get one of these corruption cards that will give you a malus immediately, or they could give you a malus that stays with you throughout the campaign. There are ways of removing it later, but it's still not good.
They're not good. They're pretty hard to get rid of,
Yeah.
especially at the beginning of the game, and they are various horrible debuffs.
Yeah, some of them are really, really
Some of them
nasty.
actually all right, but if you get unlucky because you draw them randomly from the deck, you can get.
But again, it's not just adding more turns. If you are knock unconscious, or if you actually fail the scenario, you will get one of those cards, and you can get up to 4 of those cards, and then it's kaput.
That's it.
Campaign
ends.
4
Start again.
cards per character.
Shuffle up.
So yes, it is quite challenging. And again, even the fact that yes, you can talk to each other about, right, I'm gonna definitely can do this, definitely can do that. But the other twist that the games throw at you is the initiative.
Yeah, really important to note. So during that planning phase that we talked about, you're going to be setting who's going to act in what order.
Yeah.
But the app of the game will tell you that the enemies might have a reaction in between your player turns, and then the enemies will act at the end of the player turns as well. So that might throw a spanner in the works.
Yeah, 'cause sometimes it's just like, okay, we go all first, second, and third, and then the enemy activate. Sometimes it's the enemy activating even before you start, or one player might activate and then the enemies. And in the reaction, you never know which one of the enemies will activate.
Yes.
That adds more complexity, and at the end all the enemies will activate. All is driven by the app in terms of when the reaction happens, what the activation orders are, but it's challenging because you don't really know exactly what's going to happen. It can throw you to a very, very nasty surprise.
Yeah, but it makes the planning interesting because you have to always be prepared that something near you might activate before you want it to. But then sometimes, which is great about the game, you might have to take the risk. And sometimes the risk pays off.
Yeah.
The enemy doesn't activate, and you're like, brilliant.
Yeah.
Worked out. But that's the game.
Yeah, and one of the things that the app does that is pretty nice, in a few scenarios we were told all right, we've done it, and then the app is like, no, there is the doors got open, and
there's an additional
tile to add, and something more happens, or secret passages. All this is very well done on the app.
It's really
very
cool.
easy to use. The app will tell you all the rules for that scenario, so you can always go back and read all the rules. All the information are there. So yes, it's an app, but it's very well done.
We already talked about there's lots of leveling up that you can do with your character, getting new skills, you can get new equipment and gear, more ways to get different dice to then use in the scenarios. of Fateforge. Matt, is there anything else mechanically you want to talk about?
Each boss, there are a number of bosses that you will encounter during your campaign. Each boss got one of these larger cards, while all the normal enemy will have a normal cards with the stats and what they do. The boss fights are very different between each other. Each one of them will have its own challenge, and it becomes kind of like a little bit of a boss battler at a certain point, because the bosses needs to take a lot of damage before going down. They will throw at you very, very nasty things. Again, no spoiler, because it's the campaign is quite short. So if we tell you like this is doing this, this is doing that, it will not be fair to you. But what I will say is they are different, kind of unique on how they play, and throw at you an extra curveball during your process, because you encounter that specific boss once. You don't know at the start what's going to happen.
Yeah, there are different rules that might be implemented and various things that to really keep you on your toes. And the boss fights are epic. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, Matt, as the dungeon crawler aficionado, who is this game for?
I will say this game is for everyone that loves the genre of dungeon crawler, RPG, storytelling, adventure games, that look for something that is more innovative. It's not the how you do the dice chucking and how the mechanics of building your character works. That is quite unique in comparison to a lot of other dungeon crawler, new and old. And if you're looking for a challenging game that it doesn't have a campaign of 100 to 200 hours, that this is probably something that is something that you should definitely consider of trying or get your hands on it, back or not, well, back responsibly. But this is definitely the game for you. It's not the game for you if...
I think this isn't the game for you if you're not a massive fan of long story stretches in games, or if you don't like storytelling in general in your games, because this is a big element of the game. As we said, this is kind of split into two major parts. You've got your fighting bit, and then you've got your storytelling bit. Matt, I'm not the dungeon crawler guy. I am like the mechanical guy. And what I love the most about this game is these fight scenes. This particular thing is what I love the most about it. It borrows, I think, or is inspired by some of the older games in Mighty Board's franchise, like the Vengeance series, where it has this dice allocation. Very similar or inspired by, and it's fantastic. It's action-based, and that's what the game feels like. It feels like you're jumping through windows, kicking enemies' asses, grabbing the loot, grab the princess and run out the door before the dragon bites you on the bum. It's brilliant. It has that feeling of the game. It's speedy, it's snappy. You're never waiting too long between turns as well. It's a really cool feeling of a game.
Yeah, so it's highly interactive. You don't wait around the table for someone to take their turn reading a million cards and trying to do using this and that and move one and
along this hex or whatever.
It's way faster. It's way more action rather than RPGing while you're playing.
It feels like an action RPG for sure, man.
Yes. So it is for you, even if you're not really liking the narrative side of the games. Again, if you're not a fan like you, when you found the story being a little bit, but that's a genre specific. That's a genre specific.
But like, you could really happily like skip through the story. Not recommending you do this, but if you're like me and you just don't have the attention span, you can skip, fight, and then you're going to have a blast playing these amazing fight scenes, because the game in and of itself is brilliant and good enough to hold up to that.
Yeah, cool. But if you are into the stories, yeah, exactly. The story, you can read it, you can go through it, finding out all these branching stories. When you make the decision, they are really, really impactful. For example, on our first run, we saved the flower girl, and the second one is that they killed her, and we were like, all right, the story went completely different ways, and that is something that to me is an addition. I know that if you're not a big fan of narrative games, that could be a little bit of not a letdown, but a little bit of the drag when you were like, all right, I want to
next fight, chuck dice, longer fights, let's go.
Yeah, so yeah, as you say, when the mechanics are so good that this is probably worth to try, even if you're not into that more RPG-esque style game.
Absolutely. So in terms of the difficulty and the complexity of the game, Matt, would we stick this in our expert or advanced category? This is above intermediate, I feel like.
It is, but it's not that difficult. So the mechanics, learn how to play the game is very easy.
I think so.
It's very, very easy. So you will be in the action straight away. At the end of the day, it's rolling dice and allocating those dice to certain action.
Yeah.
Especially at the start of the game, there are no like advanced rules. It's kind of like the games adds some advanced rule while you're playing. That is nice for two things, because it lets you learn the game in a better way, and then adds extra complexity, extra challenges throughout the campaign. So that is done very, very well. It's very, very well balanced, but it is challenging.
Yeah, I think with this probably sits then right in the middle of the advanced.
Yes, yes. It's not. It's all the dungeon crawler more the expert side. The RPG elements are there, but they're not daunting.
No, they're not there. They're relatively light touch. You spend your money, you buy the cards. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, you don't have a A4 like document that you need to fill out every time. And talking about it, the setup can be a little bit more fiddly because it's made of tiles. It's a kind of like a little bit of a retro choice of the old dungeon crawler style, while all the most recent stuff, they all use like books or very big map that they change with terrains or stuff like that. But yeah, it can be a little bit fiddly to follow the app and put this, put that. It takes a little bit longer. However, putting it down is super easy. You put all your stuff from your character in one of these boxes. You got one for the party where you put all the loot and the gems and everything, and all the tokens goes into the token box. Off you go. That's it. Job done.
Done. Absolutely. Matt, should we dive into some final thoughts?
Yeah, let's go. Okay, let's go into have a final thought about Fateforge. So what we think about the game, what our experience was. And I want to start with, I'm a fanboy of dungeon crawlers, so I want to get it from you first, because you're not.
I'm not.
You are not. So you normally will be not against this style of games, but you would not be attracted.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So there's a few things that I'm not typically attracted to, which is the story side, like the narrative adventure piece.
Yeah.
App integration typically bounces off me as well, right? So those two things don't normally work for me. And in this game, I can go past that because I think this side of it is so good. It is super fun. I love the action feeling, as we said. This whole, kick the window in and do the adventure with your friends, and get out by the skin of your teeth, sweating at the end.
That's right. You sweat on this game. You sweat.
So I really like that feeling of the game. I think it's really, really cool. I think the production is very lovingly done. I love the artwork, the way it pops. Like you said, it's not grim or dark. It is bright and bold.
Yeah.
And it is exciting to go along with that action feeling of the game. I think that's a tremendous thing. It really brings you into the adventure, which is really, really cool. I think, like you said, the teardown is great. The way the game plays is smooth and exciting and interesting and inviting. I think when you're setting up the scenarios can be a bit of a faff, but I think for me, because I'm not super into things like, massive thematic integration from dungeon crawlers, I'll just be like, just grab the tile shapes and grab some colours of tile.
Yeah, well, I'm like, no, that is the tile.
This specific tile on this side, and it has to be this exact enemy. I'm like, just grab the tokens. So that side of it can be a little bit fiddly, but it's not that bad. I mean, it's considering you're going to be settling in for a good hour's worth of play.
Yeah.
Set up for 5-10 minutes is not that big a deal. I think it's a really cool game.
Perfect, perfect. I very much agree with you on the action side of the game. Is innovative, is new, is a new thing, and it's fast. Is very much
Fast and furious.
cinematic in terms of like,
cinematic.
oh, I can do this, and it's with this dice I can activate my combo. There, let me do this, and I slice them all, and
especially a little bit later on when everyone activates a few cool things, right?
It's pretty cool, and the interaction between players is always high because you always like, what's he gonna do? Because you know that he might try to kill the boss, but does he actually have those exact dice that he will need? So it keeps everybody on their toes throughout the campaign. But we already spoke about being challenging, the resource management, life and energy throughout the different fights is really interesting and make it really interesting. The story side of the game. Now, as we say, the Fateforge is an existing IP. There is a lot of times when you're reading the story, there's going to be a lot of names or location stuff that do not mean anything to you.
No, to me, they mean very little.
and I do understand it. I live these games as a 10 years old that get excited about Falamir wants to find oh my god, it's gonna be like a new character. I get excited about that stuff, but I do understand that it's not for everyone. So the story mode of this game and a lot of other games, I think you need to have a group that goes in with both their feet inside the story and want to be immersed. The game help you immersing in this like larger fantasy world. The story is interesting. I will not say that it's the best story ever written, but it's a very good one. It's not dull. It keeps you. You got some funny moments. Again, no spoilers, but it's a good one. If you really hate narratives and stuff, you can probably skip and go into the fighting, but I think it's worth at least give it a try to be fully into it. But again, that it depends on the people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in general, Matt, this is going to be a recommendation from me for sure. Even as someone that does not like typically story-driven adventure app integrated games. It's not really typically my bag, but like I said, I think this framework is that good that it's certainly worth a try. Therefore, it is recommended from me.
Perfect. And it's the same things for me. It's recommended for if you're not big into, or if you want to try something different in terms of like the dungeon crawly genre of games. But if you really love RPGs and dungeon crawler, is a very high recommendation for me because it's new. The story again lets you immerse into the story. It's interesting. So you got both the elements that really works well. But I get that it's not for everyone. But if you are looking at this video, you're probably interested in dungeon crawler, and I think you should probably go on the Kickstarter page and check even more about this.
Check it out. Absolutely. So that was our review of Fateforge Chronicles of Kaan. But before we finish our outro and we say goodbye, let's just finalize a couple of things on the expansion, Matt.
Oh yes, so the first expansion came out with the first sprint of the game. It will add an extra character that you can play and adds more to the story, so that it is not attached directly to the main story once you finish the main campaign. So you can ideally even start it just the expansion and 2 months after you finish the game, taking different characters and playing the expansion. It adds like probably another 10 hours worth of gameplay. The second expansion, the one that is coming out now with the reprint, is going to add pets.
Love it, love it. I'm so here for it. I want my doggy companion.
So it's there's no new character, but you got these pets that you can use as companion throughout the campaign, and it adds more story again. So it's another 5-10 hours of stories that you can play with your pets, or then you can use those pets at the start when you're restarting your campaign another time.
Absolutely fantastic, love it. Give me pets.
The companion mechanisms on the games throughout the main campaign, you will find companions that are gonna come with you and help you out. It's really cool. So again, but no spoilers, otherwise.
No. The game has the framework for the companions in it, so it works great already.
Exactly. So it's not something that is not being
crowbarred in. Or
exactly. So that's pretty cool. I'll definitely gonna get it because I love pets and I love Fateforge. So
yeah, there we go. So there we are. And if you like the sound of that, then you should certainly check out the campaign below in the links in the description. And also, Matt, what's very important, what else should they do?
Well, hit the subscribe button, come on.
Be an action adventurer, kick the window in, dive in, press the subscribe button and leave with a smile on your face as we deliver videos twice a week, every week.
Yeah.
Check out the rest of our videos and we're going to catch you again on the next one.
Ciao.
What's to be, game reviews for you and me. What's to be, here's what you should play and see.